Hello friends, this is Durga from ITversity. As part of CCA Spark and Hadoop developer, in this video I will be covering evolving an Avro schema by changing JSON files. This is the last topic of the certification. So for this, we need to have data in Avro file format, and also you should have tables already in Avro format using Avro schema. And then this explains how you can actually modify the JSON file, which is Avro schema, and still without impacting the underlying data. This is similar to the scenario where you actually add columns to the data set in your traditional databases like Oracle. You can add columns to the database, you can modify the data types with some limitations. For example, you can modify data type from float to double or integer to float, something like that, or char to varchar. You can do all those things in traditional RDBMSs. When it comes to Hive, it is a little bit challenging because Hive is not designed, or any database on top of Hadoop is not designed to update the existing data. For that reason, adding new columns is not trivial. But having Avro schema on Avro data files, by changing Avro schema, we can support addition of new columns or changing the data types of the existing columns, etc. So let's see how we can do that. So for that, make sure that you create the tables, you import the data using scoop import as I have explained earlier, and confirm that you have the data in this location, user Hive warehouse retail underscore stage .db. There should be a directory for each and every table we have imported from MySQL. And also we have Avro directory here, and I think if you run from Avro, you should see files with AVSC extension. Like this, and you have to copy these things to a location called retail, means whatever location you want, but in this case I will be copying to this location, user Cloudera retail stage, because my create table commands are referring to that location for the schema, and this location which we have already validated for the data. So first I need to copy these things by running Hadoop minus fs minus put avsc, and then paste the path. So this is where you will find the avsc files, and then you can run this script, run these all create table commands for 6 tables. There are other tables also, because I am playing with the source database, which is in MySQL, quite a bit, so it has imported other tables also, but these are the main tables we are interested in. So I will be creating tables in Hive in database called retail underscore stage, which is already created, and you can list show tables here, and there are no you can't see tables here, and then you can paste those create table commands. It will create all the tables, and you can now list show tables. You can now type show tables, and you can list the tables like this, and you can validate. Select star from departments. There are around 10 records. This is the data in the table, and we will also validate using Impala. Make sure Impala is started. If it did not work, make sure you go to Cloudera Manager and start the Impala, and then go to use retail underscore stage and run show tables. It will not list the tables because it is not aware of the metadata changes that I have done by creating the tables. To refresh the metadata, there is a command called invalidate metadata, and hit enter, Now it will refresh all the metadata on the tables for this database, and then if you run show tables, you can see all the 6 tables which are created. Okay, now we will modify the schema and see how it how we can add columns, change the data types, etc. So I'm exiting from here. I will be playing with departments. So first I am actually making a copy of it. Paste .bkp lsltr, and then paste. So you can see the schema for this departments table have 2 fields. One is department ID and the second one is department name. And if you look at type, it says int and null. Null is a data type in Avro, and also int is another data type in Avro. So this field, which is named as department ID, can either store an integer value or null value. And then for this field, if you want to give column name within the schema itself, then you can give the column name. If you don't specify column name here, then you have to specify column names under create table command, create table, table name, and then columns with the column name. If you specify column name there, you don't need to specify column name here. In this case, if you see our create table commands, we don't have columns specified as part of the create table command. So it is mandatory that you define column names as part of the as part of each of the field. And then SQL type, I think it's an optional, and depending upon the data type, you have to define what data type you have to use. You have to go through Avro documentation, what data types it support, and you can only use those things. That being said, now we will try to add 2 columns, one in the middle of the existing columns, department ID and department name, and one at the end. So here, let me copy 5 lines and also here. So I want to create department manager of type int, which means that we will be storing the manager ID. So in this case, I am specifying different name in Avro and different name for the column name. Okay. And then I want to make it as integer or null. Let me make it integer and let me remove null. Okay, so it can only accept data of type integer. And you can, this is called as unioning the data types. You can only union null with other data type. You cannot union integer with string or integer with float, etc. You can only union between null and other regular data types. And then I want to say location of type string or null, and here I want to give the same name as the Avro column name in the Avro schema. And here I think SQL type should be 4 because it is of type integer. I'm not familiar with what SQL type is. We can, I think, remove as well. Now save it, and now we have to put this file forcefully .avsc to user Cloudera retail underscore stage and hit enter. You can validate. User Cloudera retail underscore stage. And you can see that schema is reflected, but this will fail. I will explain how to fix it. This will fail because the existing data does not have anything about manager or location. So there is a workaround for that, and we will see. This null lets you to insert new records with null values. but existing data has to be represented somehow. So let's see how what will happen now. So you can say this, you don't need to do anything here. We already copied to the exact location where the department schema is. So I am looking at the department's metadata, and you can see that this is the schema file, and this is the location to where we have copied the modified schema file. User, cloud error, retail stage, scoop import departments AVSC. And also you can see here, originally it was having only 2 columns. Now you can see there are 4 columns, and the second column is of type union type integer, because we have specified only one. I think that's why it is showing like that. Yeah, I should have removed these square brackets. So let me do that. So I am removing the square brackets here. Then I will put, then I can see the schema modified, and the column type is only integer now. Okay. So now if I run select stars from departments, it will fail because it don't know how to represent the two new fields, which are departments manager and department location. And if you see, the field name is the column name is department manager here, and actually it should show as department manager ID. It is using only the name. Probably it is the other way around. This could be the column name. No, I'm not sure why it is not showing the department manager ID here. But if you don't specify column name here, you have to specify columns in create table command. Anyway, now let me modify the schema and say that default is -1. We have to put some placeholder for each of the new columns which are added. Okay, and default null, or you can actually say empty string, and then you can put this file, and then you can run the table. It says missing required field department manager. I have specified. Let me run it again. Probably I might be too quick. Yeah, it is still complaining. Okay, I put it in the wrong field, so I have to delete it here. Paste X, and then Hadoop fs minus put. So instead of applying it on department manager, I apply it on department ID. That's where the problem is. Now you can see that it is giving the -1 for each of the department managers, and you can also do describe departments and hit enter. You can see all the 4 fields here. The reason why it is not showing anything for the 4th field is we have given empty string. So now we will try to insert the data. Before inserting the data, let's see what is there under the location which this table is pointing to. So let's run describe formatted departments and hit enter. So the location of the table is this one. Copy. I can use DFS, which is alias for Hadoop space fs in Linux command line. Now we are in Hive, so we can use DFS, which is alias to Hive fs, and then I can actually cat. First let me do ls on this location to see what is there. ls, and there is only one file here, and if I cat on this file, you can see that it only have department ID and department name. It does not have the department manager and department location. Now let me try to insert a record into this table. So we have 4 columns: describe, departments. So insert into table, departments, and values. So I want to insert null for both department manager and location. In Avro, null we have to pass it as null only, and the word null. So let me say 11,000 for department ID, and null for department manager, and department name testing, and null for department location as well. But let's see how our schema looks like before running. We have department manager only to accept integer, whereas location we have string as well as null. So it could be string or null. But here when we specify the insert command, we are specifying null for both department manager and also department location, and hit enter. This insert will fail because the department manager cannot accept null values. You can see it here. It says this is not applicable to this schema. The reason is department manager we are trying to insert null, whereas it cannot accept null. If you go here, it is not pinpointing the issue. Probably you might have to validate against the schema and figure out the issue. See, it says could not validate the record against the schema. Okay, and now let me do this. Before getting into that, let us see what is still there under this location. Departments, there is still only one file, and now I exited, and okay, I am running the VA again, and here I am changing it to, or instead of doing that, let it be integer only, and now I can actually run insert command with 11,000, and hit enter. Now it will pass without any issues because department manager ID, we are not trying to insert null into it. Now the insert statement is successful. You can say select star from departments, and you can see this 11,000 record here. And now if you look at the location of departments, you can see a new file is created, and this is the file name. You can do cat on that. It starts with 0, so I am using pattern 000, and then you can see that for this file the schema is this one. So as Hadoop, as part of Hadoop operations, we will not be updating the existing files. Whenever you load new data, it will be inserted into new files, and the schema which is defined at the time of creating that file will be applied when you try to run the queries against the data. As long as those schemas are not significantly different, and if they are as long as they are compatible, it works fine. Otherwise, you will start getting the inconsistent results or exceptions. So that is how you can evolve the schema by just modifying the JSON schema file. And now we will see whether we will be able to read the data from Impala. So I am launching Impala shell here, and use retail stage, show tables. You can see the departments table here. You can describe departments, and it is still showing only 2, but we have already updated the table with 2 additional schemas. That is because the metadata is not refreshed. Either you can run invalidate metadata, which will try to flush out all the invalid metadata information from Impala process and refresh with valid ones, or you can actually use refresh command on a table for which we made the change, and then hit enter. It will only refresh metadata for that table. And now if I describe departments, I can see all the 4 columns, and also I can run select star from departments here, and you can see all 11 columns, and department location, it is empty string, that's why it is not showing null here. Also you can insert into this table, departments values. The syntax is same whether you are trying to insert from Hive or Impala, whether to create the tables or insert the data into the tables. The syntax is almost same in almost all the cases. Sometimes it can be different. 12,000 12,000 testing and hit enter. Okay, Impala does not have write access to that location, that's why it is failing. I can grant that by saying Hadoop fs chmod 777 on user Hive warehouse retail underscore stage.db departments. I am giving complete privileges on the departments directory. I can also check ls. And you can see that for for departments directory, the permissions are 777. For others, it is 755. Now I can try insert into the table. Still, it is not. I can do this one, but this is a little bit risky. I'm giving permissions recursively on the retail stage DB itself, and then I can try inserting. Let me do this probably. Okay, Hadoop fs minus ls user Hive. Let me check the permissions on warehouse. Warehouse has 777. Yeah, let me do this. Let me invalidate metadata and then try to run this. Now it is actually inserted. Okay, writing to table format Avro is not supported. Use query option, allow unsupported format to override. That is fine. So Impala can by default only read data from Avro. It seems it cannot write. Let me see. Yeah, the documentation says you cannot currently insert data into tables with Avro format using Impala. So, but for other formats you will be able to do that. The syntax is same. Okay, that's it. So we have created tables in Hive, and then we have seen how we can actually invalidate metadata and get those tables accessible in Impala. And then we have modified schema for one of the table which is in Avro format, and then we applied that schema on the existing table, and also we have validated that how the schema behaves when we try to insert new data into the table which is having the modified schema. And also we have gone into the files and look how different schema will be applied for different files when you are using Avro data files and Avro schema which is modified. That being said, this is the last video for the syllabus, but there will be one final follow-up video which will conclude the course. And if you like the content, please click on the like button of the video. If you have any feedback, please use the comment section of the video or even corrections. If you want to ask any technical questions, please go to Stack Overflow and write the question with the appropriate tags. And if you want to further discuss on certifications, please join my ITversity Hadoop certifications group. And finally, if you are not subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. You will get to see a lot more content like this over time. Thank you. Bye.